Dozens of people have been turned around at the Queensland border after it closed to the ACT and New South Wales. Brendan Smith has the details from Coolangatta.
In the hours after the closure, 142 people were turned around. 18 were Queenslanders. They now have to fly into the state and be taken into quarantine. ACT and New South Wales residents are banned. Queensland residents coming from the official hotspots will go straight into hotel quarantine for 2 weeks at their own expense.
We have to keep a very, very close eye on what is happening in New South Wales. We can see that they are getting increasing numbers of cases moving north out of that Sydney metropolitan area.
But despite the risk of hefty fines or jail, people are still falsifying border documents.
At 7:40 p.m. last night, we found 3 men at one of our checkpoints who claimed they hadn't come from a hotspot. On a bit more questioning, it was determined that those men had actually come from a hotspot in New South Wales. So they were given an infringement notice and they were refused entry into Queensland. And that's happening on a daily basis.
Tweed locals are being warned they require passes regardless of walking or cycling across.
Anyone who comes into Queensland has to have a valid border declaration pass. So a lot of those people we know are local border zone residents, but they do still have to have a pass. And I said last week that we would heighten our vigilance.
The Gold Coast Tweed travel bubble will allow residents to visit both regions once an X-Pass has been completed.
It is even more important that people in the border communities just take note of any symptoms at all and immediately get tested, because you are at higher risk living in the border community.
But there's been a late change. Brunswick Heads locals will no longer be granted access.